Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Gez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Gez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspirational messages and interviews, including motivational insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action without the hype in unleashing your greatness in life and in business. Now, we appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us. And we have a very special guest, and I'm super grateful to have him on our show. Now, today's guest is a sought-after social media and expert on organic client attraction. After spending 5 figures learning and growth hacking on social media, he has grown a following over 250,000 in less than 2 years. Now, quoted by his 6 and 7 figure clients as the IG or Instagram or organic whiz for having a proven roadmap and system. Now, his team, Strategic Attraction, helps coaches, consultants, and educators to stand out as the go-to option and consistently attract ideal clients without spending a dime on ads. As a host of Impact Empire, he helps thousands of service-based entrepreneurs to amplify their influence, impact, and income across the globe internationally. Now introducing you, Darius Tan. Now, Darius, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show, Jess. Really appreciate this opportunity to be sharing my stories or whatever value I can provide for your community as well.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to have you on. Please tell us what you do and who you are.
All right, so as
As
a
a whole
great introduction,
overview,
I
yeah.
guess. My name is Darius, and pretty much what I help people to do is to help people to attract and scale their service-based business without spending a dime on ads. Simply because most of the time, gurus will always tell you that, if you want to scale a business, you got to keep throwing ads in, right? Which I totally disagree because my clients and I have overdone multi-6 figures, close to 7 figures in sales just without spending a dime on ads at all.
That's amazing. How did you get started in the beginning in business or even before business? What were you doing before? How did you get into entrepreneurship? Just your journey.
Awesome, man. So that's a really big question as well. It's a big question. I think I'll just highlight some key pointers. Right. So I started working at about 13 years old. I think people will probably be like starting at 13. I was starting at 13. I was also working at 13. Simply because I was like a rebellious kid back then, and then my parents sent me to one of these like youth motivational camps. I'm quite sure some of the people might have gone to those kind of youth leadership or motivational camps, and that happened to be a 1 degree turning point for me. Right, it made me shift my perspectives and realize that, there's a lot more to life than just studying, getting a good degree, and then going for a good job in the future. Because from an Asian traditional household, people always say, get a good degree and so you can get a good job. Right, and so I did not intend to go into entrepreneurship. My parents hate entrepreneurship because my family is not into entrepreneurship at all. Right, into the philosophy of good degree, good job. So all the while, there was this norm to break. There was this social norm to break, right? And I was in the industry of basically like training industry, where basically I was going around Southeast Asia, coaching and training and directing camps of up to hundreds of youths, right? In Indonesia, in Singapore, a few different countries as well. And pretty much I had the background, a lot of coaching and training. And so I can remember that I wanted to just continue training in that company that I was in. It's a pretty big company, an 8-figure training company. I thought to myself that I'll be comfortable in there. But I think that was where I made that mistake. I would say, of course, people will be like thinking, wait, but you're pretty young to make mistakes, right? So yeah. And so I realized that I was getting too comfortable in that company. I was getting too comfortable. I was doing things that I was very comfortable with, doing things that were very familiar, doing things that I knew that I would definitely ace it out of the park. I wouldn't say it's 100 of 100, but I would say maybe 95 of 100 or 90 of 100. Pretty easy. It's at the back of my mind. And that was when I started to realize that, hey, you know what? What doesn't challenge me isn't really fulfilling. Right? Because I started to realize that I started stagnating. I realized there wasn't much growth. I was doing the same thing, same tricks, same techniques. Wasn't really learning much. I started to realize that, if I'm going to be a coach, right, then I should start practicing what I preach, right? If my value and one of my top values is growth, obviously if I don't go about in that direction, then I'm going to get some conflict within myself. And I think this is one of the first few things I want to share with your audience, right? One of the biggest things I realized when I was younger is the identification of values. I think a lot of people talk about it, but I think too many people do not explore around with it. Because I believe that values should be our guiding decisions in every single thing that we do. Not just in terms of business, not just in terms of life, in every choice that we make, we are guided based on our values. And each time, I realize each time you violate these values, each time you decide to go against these values, for example, at that point of time, I decided to stay in that company rather than to go out and then like seek growth. What happened was I started feeling more unhappy, I started being more unfulfilled, simply because I'm violating my values. And one of the biggest things I realized is people start to burn out and people start to feel unfulfilled, unhappy, because for a very long period of time, they've been violating their top values. They've been violating their top values. If your top value maybe is, for my top value is mastery, so mastery comes with growth. One of my top values in terms of innovation as well. So if I'm not doing something that excites me, something that's groundbreaking in the market, right, then obviously I'm going to be going against my values. So I realize just based on my company alone, that's the reason why we do not spend a dime on ads, is that innovation value, right? And I realize that whoever that decides to be an entrepreneur, build a business, the business needs to be built based on your preference first. It needs to be built based on your preference first. And I think that a lot of people tend to talk about, being polarizing your business. I feel that at the end of the day, more people need to be more of a you supremacist. More of a you supremacist. Because I think people start caring too much about what other people want, about what other people say, about what people judge, what fears that they have, and they stop spending time on being who they are. Because the more you spend time on being who you are, the better your business will be. Because your business will always be an amplification of who you are, right? If you do not go about representing who you are, you do not go about living your own values, then your business will be as small as the values that you go about exhibiting, right? So if I don't go about exhibiting the values of mastery, innovation, right, transparency is one big thing for me as well, then all the more my business will get smaller and smaller and smaller, simply because I am not living my best values as a person, as a leader, and as a business owner as well. So pretty much how I got started in business was just because I wanted to grow. I did not go into entrepreneurship thinking that I want to make millions, to be very honest. I know some people have the rags to riches. I will never say I have the rags and riches. I think I come from an average family, not say I'm broke or anything, right? But it was that love for learning, that love for growth, that made me realize that, you know what, I want to go about starting a business because it's going to be challenging. And I honestly probably took the riskiest decision in business that one can ever take. I'm quite sure for the audience themselves, they probably learn from gurus in the market, coaches in the market, and a lot of other people in the market as well. I can remember I spent a ton on courses. And I paid this really big price. I spent maybe about 40K in total in courses. I stopped spending on courses for a while already. And 40K is no joke, right? It's not a small sum, especially when I was just 18 years old. I didn't really have much cash. It was just because I was working at a very young age. I had sufficient cash to buy courses. Obviously back then I didn't spend 40K. Back then maybe I've spent a few K only, right? So I remember that I just go about onto courses and I was spending my cash. I started to realize that courses give us I'll say a good foundation to go from level 1 to level 2, but it will never take you from level 1 to 100. Right? And I realized that, you go about spending courses, whether it's 1K, 2K, it's always around that range, you can never reach to become the master in your field if you're just spending on courses. Because you're just going to go from level 1 to level 2, and then maybe buy another course, but the other course is going to be general. It won't maybe get you to level 2 to 3, maybe it gets you from level 2 to 2.5. Right? You don't gain enough EXP in that way, right, to go about leveling up. But what I realized is that coaches allows us to go from level 1 all the way to level 100. Because they're going to be personalized, they're going to give you guidance along the way and not just in terms of consuming a course. And so I remember at the age of about 21, I can remember I had in my bank account, because in the first year of my business, I made close to $0. Close to $0, right? Pretty much I was just cold emailing, cold pitching, cold calling. I was doing everything. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. I bought courses, but the courses didn't really work. The courses precisely asked me to spend on ads. And I was thinking to myself, wow, I'm already broke. How do I go about spending on ads when I'm broke? I'll be broker, damn. Not a very wise strategy, right? And so I realized that, I really needed to get a coach. And I can remember this was probably the most risky decision that I made. And so far, I always think back and think to myself wow, if I didn't make a decision, how would life go about? And if I did make a decision, I'm living that decision now. And so there was this opportunity for me to work with this mentor of mine, and this mentor of mine pretty much goes about helping, like I'll say, the best coaches and consultants and sales professionals out there in Asia to generate millions of dollars. So it's pretty much a very, very big figure in the industry. I'll say in Southeast Asia, I won't say in the world. And so I remember when I met him and these two mentors, I can remember that the price I had to pay was 30K for 1 year, and that was not a small sum at all. Once again, not a small sum. And I was only 20. I was 20. I was literally just 20. I was thinking to myself like, shit. I was talking to my partner because I was thinking, okay, if this was like 10K, you know what? I'm gonna take out all my savings. You pull up your savings as well. I'm gonna go into it. And then the asking price was 30K, and I was like, shit. But back then I was so desperate, Back then I was so desperate because like I did whatever that I had to do. I spent so much on courses. I really took action. It's not saying that I bought and then I didn't take action. I really took action, but I had sales, but then it was like up and down, up and down, and up and down. Right? And so there wasn't really anything that was consistent. And if you want to build and scale a business, you have to be consistent with a set of fundamentals. Right? And so I thought to myself, you know what, we really have to get into this. If not, I don't know how long I'm gonna suffer with this. And so pretty much my first big decision in business, while other people's first big decision is probably maybe closing like a 10K deal or 20K deal or maybe working with a high flyer client, my first big decision was to go into depth of 30K. Right, because in my bank account I had probably less than 5K, and I was like, shit, how am I gonna pay them? I opted for like a quarterly payment. I was like, shit, how am I gonna pay that? I got 5K now. I can pay maybe the first payment, pull up like some from my partner, and then that's it. How am I gonna pay for the next one? And so I realized that cultivated like a do whatever it takes mindset. Because I think Tony Robbins talked about it, right? If you want to claim an island, go about burning the boat. I don't think just Tony Robbins. I think it's based off actually one of those Chinese, I can remember, I think in the 210 BC. I don't know why I can remember the story. 210 BC, what happened was this commander decided to burn all the boats so that his soldiers will not go back. And what happens then after that? They won 9 consecutive battles. And they claimed the whole entire land. So it's quite interesting. It's an actual story. It's not just a saying for what people might think. So I realized that I really just burned the boats and went all into that. And so that was really my first decision made in my business. And I do not recommend. I do not recommend anyone else to make that decision. Because I think people always like to say that, oh, I make the decision, that's why you should make it too. No. I honestly think that what works for me might not work best for you. What's very important in business is really having clarity. And that's why I say clarity over your values, clarity over yourself, clarity over everything that you can do in life. I realized the only reason why I got to this stage of building a multi-six-figure business while I'm at a very young age of 22, right? And people always say, wow, it's good and you're very lucky and everything. Yeah, I do admit that I'm quite lucky because if my parents did not send me for that camp and I did not decide to join a company, everything else would be very different, right? So I do believe that there is some form of luck as well in the whole game. And I'll say that at the end of the day, the best decisions that you'll make are those that are aligned to who you are as a person. Not because, Darius said it, not because, the great Gez said it, the great Gez Perez says it, so I have to do this as well. I firmly believe that the best decisions that you make are those decisions that are aligned to who you really are. Yeah, so pretty much that was my first foray into entrepreneurship.
So how did you overcome those challenges? Because obviously, you spent 30K, over 40K in terms of learning, but how did you really overcome those challenges? Because obviously you're dealing with a mindset, obviously you need to work on the skill set to scale your business, but it's those pivotal moments where you're like, oh man, like how did you overcome that? Because a lot of people are on that journey where they don't see any income that's coming into their funnel, right? And so they're just stuck at the moment. How did you persevere?
Okay, Ken. I think that's a really great question because I was there. That 1 year of earning $0, close to zero. I won't say zero, but close to zero, right? And I was in this really, really tough spot. I just knew that I had to make a decision to get out there, and that was a decision. Of course, we had a lot of challenges as well because we were doing a lot of uncomfortable things that we didn't really do before. I honestly feel that the reason why people might persevere, they say that, hey, you know what, Gez, I've been working for 1 year, but I still have not gotten to where I want to be. I honestly feel a lot of times it's due to consistency. I realized one of the biggest mistakes I made was I basically did one thing, and I did another thing, and I did another thing, and I did another thing, and then we keep adding more and more and more, right? And this is what I call the everywhere syndrome. The everywhere, everywhere. You're everywhere, and you're nowhere as well. Because I believe, right, that if you spend like, let's say 10% on each strategy, what are you gonna get? You're gonna get 10% of the result. And so I think too many people, when they first start out, they focus on too many things. They go about going like, oh, I need to do this strategy, I gotta build a funnel, I gotta build a website, I gotta build this, I gotta build that. Right? And to me, I honestly think if I were to start off again, I wouldn't start with a website, I wouldn't start with a funnel, I'll start with a social media account. That was all I needed in order to maybe make my first 10k, 20k, 30k, or even 50k, I'll say. Right? Just a social media account. Actually, one of my clients went from 0 to 20k a month, pretty much just with her Instagram account, nothing else. So I really believe, right, that if you're starting out, if you're really grinding it through, I firmly believe, right, that you should take, I'll say there are 5 ones that I'll say to people. I don't think you're one thing away, but I think you're 5 1 things away, right? The first one thing is you need a one target market, whatever that market will be. Next is one offer. I think people have too many offers, like, oh, I got this $47, I got $900, this $1,002. No, just stick with one offer, okay? And then next is one conversion funnel. The conversion funnel might be your social media profile, right? Your conversion funnel might be actually through emails, whichever it is, right? But one conversion funnel. Next is in terms of one sales process, right? Knowing how to go about closing your clients, whether it's through webinar or whether it's through one-to-one calls. Simple. Last but not least, it's just 1 year. That's all. Last is just 1 year. I firmly believe that people maybe have one of each, but they do not have the last one. People go about 6 months, right? And they go like, oh, this thing don't work. Yeah, because I can remember when I went into that mentorship, right? It was 30k, but I was panicking like mad because the first 2 months, right? And on the 4th month, they're gonna collect again, right? The payment. I feel like is this what it feels like if you borrow money from like the loan sharks, right? First 2 months, I wasn't getting any results at all. But I started getting results, right, on the, I think, like really close to the payment date. I think on the end of 3rd month, I was able to get enough cash just to go about paying back to them. How am I gonna feed myself as well, right? Like, oh, those were very tough days. Those were really very tough days, to be honest, right? And so I was thinking, am I gonna go about paying the next payment as well, right? But it was because of that consistency that I was sticking towards. It was the consistency I was sticking towards, and that's why on the 6th month, I started getting a huge spike in results, and it started becoming an exponential growth. So I think for a lot of people that maybe they are persevering, I feel that you want to persevere on the right things. Obviously, first persevere on the right things, but don't open yourself up to many different things. Oh, I'll do on Instagram, I want to go on Twitter, I want to go on Facebook. No, just pick one and really just zone it in there. I think a lot of people talk about this, but I think not many people actually implement it. Right? What's most commonly known is not commonly practiced, right? So I firmly believe that if you go about nailing down and just really take 1 year, 1 year, just zone in on the things that I've just said, I'm very sure that you'll get clients for yourself. And to me, it was because of that consistency. Because too many people are like trying to build a mud house. They throw a stick house. They throw different sticks. Like, oh, I want to build a house. Let me throw different sticks. But what you really need to do is to build like bricks. They build bricks, one brick at a time. And if you think about it, for a building to be built, they don't go about using different bricks, right? They go about using the same brick again, and then bricks, bricks, right? And then glue. I'm not sure what glue they use, right? But they just brick over brick over brick over brick. And that's exactly how we should go about building our business. I think too many times we get too swayed by all the gurus out there. Like, oh, you're one thing away, right? You talk about motivation without the hype. I think a lot of people are selling the hype. I hate the hype. That's exactly why I love the name of the show to begin with. I hate the hype. I really think that in business, you want a successful business, it's gonna be boring. It's gonna be boring because you gotta build that brick, and then next brick, and the next brick, and you think what, you're gonna be a different patterns, you can do a T-shaped brick, or like an L-shaped brick. No, your building will collapse. and that's exactly why people start to go like, hey, how come my business isn't working? Simple, because you're not consistently dedicating to the fundamentals, to the right fundamentals. And once you have the right fundamentals, it's just the same thing over and over and over again, and it's gonna be boring. That's the honest truth. I will never ever tell people that it's exciting. It's exciting because you're able to do something that's challenging. That's what I'll say. But I think that, in terms of marketing, in terms of sales, it's the same thing. It's really the same thing done over and over and over again. And to me, the difference between good to great lie in the small details that people don't see. Going from 0 to good, I think that's the exciting part. You learn a lot of things. But going from good to great is usually boring because it requires a ton of reflection. One very simple question that we ask ourselves every single week, and I think this really gets everyone grounded in my team, for our clients as well. What works well and what doesn't work well? That's it. Every single week we ask ourselves, what works well in marketing? What doesn't work well in marketing? What worked well in sales? What didn't work well in sales? Oh, this week marketing, what I did was I did a launch campaign. That worked well. What didn't work well? Oh, I posted this content and it sucked. Right? It bombed. Right? Why did it not work well? Then exactly that's why I want to find out. So the difference between good to great for people who want to go after they go from 0 to good, right? Maybe they go from level 1 all the way to level 50. But after level 50, you realize it's a bit harder to go about leveling up, right? Yeah, it lies in the details. It lies in the details, and details usually is based off from two different inputs. Internal inputs and external outputs. Internal inputs is basically based off feedback from yourself, reflection. Every single day you want to be reflecting over and over again, so they get very, very clear of what the details are missing and what the details that don't work out well. And then next one is external input as well. External input is basically from your coaches, from your mentors that will give you feedback. So I honestly think that if you want to have great output, because people always do the work, output, but they don't have really good inputs. They don't really have good inputs because the only kind of input that they maybe have, I feel too many people are too reliant on external input. Oh, let me hear what Gez have to say. Let me hear what Darius have to say. Right? So they just keep focusing on external input, but they don't spend enough time on internal inputs. Because my process will be get external inputs, then go about reflecting on, hey, are these external inputs going to be good for me? Are they going to be a good fit for me? Not everything that Darius is going to say is going to work for me, right? Or not everything that Gez says is going to work for me because what works for him might not work for me, right? But there are, I would say most of the things that I'll say might be applicable for the people who are listening at the current moment, right? And so after having external input, you're going to have your own internal inputs. What works well? What doesn't work well? Right? Then we go about creating the output. But I feel too many people just jump, and that was my mistake as well. I listened to a guru, I'm like, do! just do. Right? And I realized this doesn't work. Why not? And then after that, I start to jump on another thing. Instead of going back to internal input, I went to output, and then I realized that this sucks. I go and jump onto another external input. But what people have to realize is a cycle. It's a cycle. External input, internal input, and then it goes to output. Output goes to external input, and then internal input, then output again. But too many people go external input, no internal input, jump to output, and then they jump onto a totally new external input again. Yeah. And to me, that is the biggest curse that people will fall under when they start building a business, because it's a lot of hype. I was sucked into the whole hype as well. That's actually why I spent stupid money. I really think stupid money on courses that did not work well for me.
So how did you reflect on that, where you had to improve? And it's really important. We need that reflection where what went well, what didn't go well, what can I do next to improve that? And I think that's really important to have that cycle of thinking or thought process, because what you put in is what you get. But then you got to reflect on the internal inputs, and I think that's why a lot of the problems of entrepreneurs is like the bright and shiny things, like, oh yeah, this is great, doesn't work. But then we need to question ourselves: is, well, why didn't it work? Is it because of the skill set, or is it because of the knowledge gap? And I think that's what you mentioned about, from 0 to good, and then from good to great, and in between, requires a lot of the right strategies. And you were saying, you can take a lot of action, but if you don't have the right strategy, you're not going to get that output that you want of that type of result, which is fantastic. So, I mean, like in terms of business, like how did you get into social media? Was it more of from the mentors, or was it because you start to find a lot more results through this medium? Like, how did you get into the social media world and found your successes there?
Awesome. Okay, so just to give a background as well, I did not have a very great confidence level. I'll say I had lower self-esteem back when I was like 18. Even though people think, wow, this person is really like, running camps of hundreds of people at the age of 18, going overseas. How is this person, does this person have low self-esteem? Because back then I was constantly being mocked. I'll say not 18 years old, but I'll say 17, 18, I was to say that. I was constantly being mocked for having like a lisp or having a short tongue. I would say the joke that I still remember till today is like, I couldn't pronounce my name as Darius. What people would hear is Darius. And that's what lisp and short tongue people will go about pronouncing. That was a joke that stick together with me. And I can remember that I didn't really have a very good self-esteem, but I knew that, I still wanted to go about impacting more people. Right? It was at 18 years old I decided to leave that 8-figure company to start something myself. I can remember I was just going on Twitter. Right? So to whoever that's starting on your social media journey, just pick one platform and just post whatever the heck you want. Post whatever the heck you want. No, I'm not kidding. I think too many people think too much about it because they start thinking like, oh, I go on the platform and then I gotta post this content or that content. And I honestly think at the starting stage, I'm not saying all the way you post whatever you want, but I'm saying at the starting stage, get comfortable with it. Get comfortable with it. I'm not saying that, just post whatever you want all the way, but get comfortable with it at the start. And so I can remember I just started tweeting, and I started tweeting like quotes or thoughts that I have in my mind and ideas I have in my mind. And so I just start tweeting again and again and again. And these days I tweet about strategies I even use in my business and for our clients as well. Right? But I started off from Twitter. I started from Twitter just tweeting out my thoughts and my ideas again and again. And then I just replied to other people's questions that they have and then just give them answers as well. And that's how I started. I really started that way, but I would still say I had the fear of judgment of whether people will people think that I'm good enough, or who the hell is this 18 years old or 19 years old kid going about giving advice. I wasn't really giving so much advice. I was more like questioning, right? And so like I had a lot of fear of judgment because like yeah, I might be inexperienced, I might be young, maybe I'm not good enough, right? And the social media world is like so scary. There's so many people that are like toxic, will leave negative comments, everything, right? I can remember like when I was building that process as well, I actually had like negative like DMs as well. People DM me like, oh, like F you, F your family. Like it's so random. It's really so random. It's like hate that come out from nowhere. Like I get it if you hate me because maybe I said something. Okay, then obviously hey, maybe that's my fault, right? I'll apologize. But it was hate that came out from like nowhere. And that's when I realized, right? I can't remember what I was studying. But I realized that there was a research being done that 1 out of 4 people will not like you for any damn reason. It was a very interesting set. That means if you go about walking down your street now and you count 1, 2, 3, that guy does not like me. Right, that guy does not like me. And I realized that at the end of the day, 1 out of 4 people will not like you. And if 1 out of 4 people will not like you, then you just have to accept the fact, even if they don't know you. And so it's very normal for you to have people to not like you. I'll say that at the end of the day, if you focus on the people who do not like you, then you're doing a disservice to the people who do like you. Because if you spend time on the people who don't like you, you're spending less time on the people who do like you. Right? And to me, my whole policy is why don't you spend more time on the people who do like you? And so that's what I did on social media. Even though I had like, hate comments, and I won't say much hate comments, but I'll say more hate DMs that came in, right? A few hate comments once again here and there, right? And that was how I really built up that momentum, right? I built up the momentum and I start to realize that, what, at the end of the day, if people are not going to like me, then so be it, right? Do I want to focus on people who don't like me, or do I want to focus on people that like me? I chose to just direct my energy and intention back on the people that like me. Yeah. And so that was pretty much how I started my social media journey. After I succeeded quite well on Twitter, that's why I jumped on Instagram, right? And then the journey went on. It was pretty much just posting whatever I was comfortable with. Like what I say, going from zero to good. You just learn everything you can and then just implement whatever you can, right? But the difference between good to great is when you start to have to reflect and to keep finding the details so that you can go from good to great.
Love it. No, I love those insights, and I think that's really important. Is focus on one platform, get better at from zero to good, and then from good to great, and find that medium, which is fantastic. And you covered a lot of things just in the segment alone, and I can't believe how much insights that you provided. So thank you so much for that. I mean, like your story through how you think and how you put those into mindset, into skill set, and how you take execution with the right strategic way has been phenomenal. I can see that journey of yours, and you're moving mountains, you're making a difference in the life of others, you're helping other businesses as well to scale as well as you scale at the same time. Now, I always ask this question to every guest that's on the show is, what is your meaning of motivation without the hype, and how to use motivation for your personal success?
Awesome, man. So I honestly think that motivation without the hype is basically clarity over your life. Yeah. I'll put it in that one simple sentence. Because every decision of mine, I feel that it all becomes a cycle, right? You have greater clarity over who you are. You start to make more informed decisions. You get better results. The cycle repeats, right? And so to me, it's a lot about having clarity of yourself. Because I think you talk about, how do I use motivation for myself? I'll go to that in a bit of a time. But to talk about the importance of clarity, I feel that too many people are in the game of comparison. Like, Gez, he has a good podcast. Then I don't think I'll have a good podcast like him, right? He's such an awesome host. I don't think I'll be as awesome as him, right? Or whatever kind of comparisons that we'll make. But I like to give this analogy to people, right? That if you start focusing on another lane and look at other cars, you're bound to crash in your own lane as well, right? You're bound to crash in your own lane. And so instead of asking, right, wow, how did, Gez get to where he is? How did Darius get to where he is? I firmly believe that people should start asking, what did Gez, what did Darius sacrifice in order to get there? Because I think too many people are looking at the end result. People are selling the hype, right? They look at the end result, oh, millions of dollars, hundreds and thousands of dollars. Well, podcasts, a lot of people love him, give him supportive comments and everything. People are looking at the end result. But they didn't think about what was the sacrifice. What was the price of admission in order to get to where that person has gone to? And I firmly believe that not everyone might be willing to pay the price of admission. I'm not joking. I mean, like, who would want to work like Elon Musk, working like 18 hours a day and having 5 hours? Do you really want that? That's my question. Like, sure, you will want billions of dollars, but do you want to pay the price of admission? I think the question that people should not ask is, oh, I want to get like this $1 million or $1 billion. The question that I think people should ask is, do I want to pay the price of admission needed in order to get that goal? And if you're willing to pay that price of admission, that ticket of entry to work 12 hours a day to build your business, right? Or let's say if you're 9 to 5 now and you're building that side hustle, right? You 9 to 5, you come back home and you work all the way from 6 all the way to 12 just in order to start building that side hustle to turn into business, whichever it may be. And if you're willing to pay that price of admission, then I think that's what you should go for. And so to me, I think it's really having clarity over your own lane. Because I feel the clearer you are of how far ahead you can go forward, right, the more you'll be able to make more informed decisions. Because you know, like, hey, when I'm going forward, I know I have to turn left or I have to turn right. Can you imagine if you have to turn right, but you're looking at another car, obviously gonna fall off the cliff, right? but now that you have clarity of what's the lane ahead, that's when you're able to start going to turn right and go like, okay, now I know that I'm supposed to get where I'm supposed to go. So to me, how I apply motivation in my life, I think that's a good question as well. I think motivation is a good start for where everyone goes. I think motivation is a good start. At the same time, I think motivation is not something that's sustainable in the long run. Motivation is not sustainable, but fulfillment is. Motivation now is not sustainable, but fulfillment is. Because I think a lot of people think like, oh, every day I need to wake up being motivated. And the truth is, I wake up some days feeling unmotivated as heck. And you might be thinking, oh wow, but they just make money or like just make money. Like why will you not be motivated? There will be days. I think that's what people don't talk about. People think like, oh, I live in a villa. No, like I'm freaking minimalistic. You can see my room is just, I'm not joking. Like my room is really just my table and a whiteboard. There's nothing else. And my room is actually quite big. Like if I go all the way back there, it's actually quite far, right? And that's how my room is designed, right? And so I think having motivation is a short-term burst, right? It's a good short-term burst for you to get motivated, for you to get excited. The long run is to find meaning in what you do. Find meaning in what you do, because when you have meaning, that's when you get fulfillment in the long run as well. But I definitely do apply motivation in my life. Now, is it cool if I answer the question of how I apply motivation in my life? Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure that I'm not extending too much time here. Yeah. So in terms of how I go about using motivation in my life, right? I honestly think when it comes to motivation, it's really focusing on what you do best. Because at the end of the day, right, we like to do things that we are usually comfortable with. That is true. We usually like to do things that we're comfortable with, and we usually like to play to our strengths. Very overheard kind of saying, right? But I feel that if you want to get a good, quick motivation, is to first focus on what your strengths are. I think if you first start off your task, right, can you imagine the first task of the day, you do something that you really hate and you're like, shit, I don't really want to do anything else. Right? Why? Because it takes so much mental and takes so much emotional energy just for you to go about doing that task, right? But if you go about, doing something that you really like first, it gives you that initial boost. Like, hey, you know what? I did something like enjoyed today. Let me go and do something that's now hard. Now that's not saying that, you should do everything that you like, everything that's enjoyable every day. No. I firmly believe, right, that in order to be great, because every master was once a disaster, right? There are some things in your business, right, that you might like, right? And there are some things that are in your business you might not like. But there are some things in your business that you might not like but are important as well. Because there are people that tell me, I don't really like sales. I feel like when I sell to people, it's not something that's natural for me and everything, like common kind of issues that people usually face, right? And to me, it's like, yeah, you might not like it, right? And maybe you want to ask yourself that question first. Do you not like it because you're not good at it? Or do you not like it simply because you are not aligned to whatever it is that you're doing? And most of the time, it's because you're not good at it. And when you're not good at it, most likely you won't like it, right? If let's say I challenge you to a game of tennis and you get trashed, you get trashed 10 games in a row, do you think you'll ever pick up tennis again? Most likely not. You'll probably be like, I don't want to play tennis again, I got trashed by Darius, right? Like, no one would enjoy that, right? Like, can you imagine if, let's say right now, I think that I'm a pro tennis player. So I beat like 5 players like consecutively. But then, for the next 20, 30 games, I lose consecutively. Now, what's gonna happen? I'm not gonna like it. I'm gonna be like, I beat like the first 5 people. I didn't beat like the rest of the people. Right? Obviously, there's gonna be a loss in confidence. So to me, competency brings about confidence. And I love the word motivation still, even though it's not a long run thing, because I think in order to have change, you need 2 things. And actually, it's been researched quite a lot as well. In order to have change, you need to have 2 things. One is motivation, right? The other is in terms of confidence. First is that motivation, the desire of whether you want to change. Right? Because you have no desire, then I'm like, oh, Jess, you should work out. You're like, no, I don't have any desire to have a ripped body. Right? I just wanna stay thin, or I just wanna stay fat, whatever it is. Right? So if you've got no desire, obviously you're not gonna go about changing. Second is confidence. Because you have no confidence, even though you have a lot of desire. Right? And this is what happens to most people. I desire to be a millionaire. Now, am I confident in getting there? Oh yeah, maybe not. And then the question is like, why are you not confident? Because maybe I don't have the skills, right? Maybe because I think I'm not good enough. And most of the time it's due to skills as well. Because people think that, I don't have the skills needed to become a millionaire. And so in order to make that change, right, it's in terms of motivation, first having the desire, which is what most people have. Second is confidence from competency. Because once you have that competency, you have the skill set, then hey, now you start to breach the fact that, hey, I can go from point A and I can go to point B. Because I have that desire, right? And now I'm gonna breach that desire for my confidence and competency, right? And if you're able to do that, that's when change actually happens. And I just like to leave on the last note that I feel that too many people focus on the outcome. Too many people start desiring that the outcome. And that's exactly what creates what? Unsatisfaction. Right? Because we become more upset that, hey, how come I haven't reached that goal yet? How have I not hit 100k yet? Have I not hit 500k? Have I not hit 1 million? We have that question over and over again played in our mind. And because we keep thinking about the outcome, right, we start getting more unhappy in our lives as well. Instead of looking at the outcome, I fully believe in focusing on the practice, on that process of what it takes to get there. What's the price of admission you're paying every single day in order to get there? If you start to focus on the process and practice, you start to enjoy a lot more of the things that you do. Because if you only enjoy it when you get the outcome, then what happens? Like, let's think about it, right? Back then, like, when was the last like accomplishment you had? If you were thinking about it, most of the time, maybe let's say you close like a 5k deal, or you close a 10k deal, or you close a 20k or 30k deal, right? Let's say I close a 30k deal. I'll probably be happy, but how long am I going to be happy for? Probably maybe I take the most 1 day to just celebrate, and then you probably don't think about it ever again, right? You'll be like, oh yeah, I remember back then, but it doesn't really give you that, oh yeah, wow, damn, like I really am enjoying now. Like 10 days later, I'm still enjoying that I closed the deal. No, then you're living the past, right? But if you start enjoying the process, you start fully being present and focusing on the process, you start being a lot happier. Why? Because the outcome is a thing that you cannot control. It's a thing you have no control over. I feel that people think that, if I want to hit $1 million, I have full control. No, you actually don't. It's the same as your exams. Some people think I have full control over your exams. Like, back then when you were a kid, maybe people were like, if you work hard, you'll definitely get your results. Not true. Not true. Why? Because when it comes to outcome, is to understand the outcome equation. Outcome equation isn't just based on the practice. It's also based on all the external factors. Maybe stress. Maybe the feeling of not being well. Maybe you're emotionally not well, maybe you're mentally not well, maybe you're physically not well. All these are all considerations that are in place. And sometimes maybe in the exams, what if there's one kid, right, and this actually happened one time in my life, this one kid that don't really study, but just happens to study the right question, which I didn't study, this guy's got higher than me. Right, and people still think that, I can control every result. No, you can't. You can't control every result. The only thing you can control is the practice and the process. You can control that I'm currently writing a content. I can control that. But I cannot control what people are going to react to my content. I cannot control what people are going to engage to my content. I cannot control whether people are going to come and DM me just because I post that content. So too many people focus on that end outcome instead of that process. And to me, it's understanding that process is something that you can control, the outcome is something you can't control. So when you start focusing on the process, you start asking yourself, what's the price of admission I want to pay? Every single day, what's the price? Am I paying that price? Yes, I am. If I'm paying that price, my next question is, do I enjoy paying that price? That's the last thing. Do I enjoy paying that price? Because some people don't enjoy paying that price. For example, some people might enjoy paying to go to Disneyland. They'll enjoy paying because they're going to get an experience, right? Some people might enjoy paying the hours to go to gym because at the end of the day they're gonna get a good body, or they're gonna feel they're gonna have like more endorphins coming in and they're gonna feel happier, right? Or more dopamine coming in, and that's exactly why they're gonna feel happier as well after going to a gym. Right? All these, I would say that look at the outcome as a byproduct. I fully believe that the practice is the result. If you really want to start changing the way you view things, start thinking that the practice is the result. Once you understand that the practice is the result, then whatever that comes after is just a byproduct. Basically, it means that whatever a real outcome you get is just a byproduct because I focus on the practice, and the practice is what I can control. And I enjoy this practice, I enjoy paying that price of admission. That's what it takes to live not just a fulfilling life, not just a happy life, but a rich, healthy life as well. Because you're going to get to many, many places just from focusing on the process rather than outcome. So I think that's a really long answer to that question, but yeah.
Oh man, that's amazing. And like there's so many things that I kind of resonate, like in terms of getting that certainty. But that certainty really comes from clarity, right? When you have that clarity, you have that certainty, that result comes with results. And then it's all birthed by competency and what you just mentioned about trusting the process and really embracing the journey. I think the journey is really important because it's fulfilling. But if you go straight to the outcome without embracing the process, then you're not able to have that practice. So you want to master your craft, and mastering a craft comes with practice, right? Comes with patience, comes with perseverance, comes with persistence, right? And all these things culminates all together. So man, that's amazing. Like that's a really good long answer. So like Darius, thank you so much for adding so much value into this podcast episode. And it's such an honor and a privilege to have you on. So guys, for more information, I know that you've been taking a lot of notes. Please do get in touch with Darius himself. And all the links are provided on the show notes. And there is a free gift, which is a complimentary gift, on the link as well, through strategic action and strategic attraction. And it's all providing those links. So take that opportunity, that free gift. And very grateful to have that. So thanks, Darius, for that. So guys, again, I know there's a lot of value in this episode alone. I love the 5 ones. So please rewind, really take some notes, and there's so many nuggets in this episode alone. So guys, if you have enjoyed this episode and it's been helpful and uplifting, we would love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high value content in each and every episode. Now, if you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media by inviting others, it would mean the world to me. Every time you tag me, we will get the opportunity to share those posts, and together, I said again, together, we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspirational episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must, and we'll see you on the next episode.